Okay, what we want to take a look at now is deal with what happens when somebody submits a form to create a new activity or edit an activity. And what we'll do is we'll redirect them back to the detailed view of what they've done here. Now, I know this looks terrible, and this is not our final solution that we're going for. We are going to be styling our detailed page a bit better than what it currently looks like at the moment. But for now, we're just concentrating on functionality. And the functionality that we want is after submission, go back to that detailed page. And we've got a few links that we need to correct here as well, such as when we cancel out of this as well. So let's head back to VS Code and start work on this. And in the activity form, let's go down to our handle submit method and let's see what we're doing. So in here, we're checking to see if we've got an activity ID. If we do, then we're updating, and if we don't, then we're creating an activity. But what we really want is our activity ID available here, so that after this has successfully completed, or the create activity, I should say, has successfully completed, then we can redirect them to the activity that matches that ID in the detailed component. But we don't have it available here, but it is available in our activity store. So what we'll do actually is we'll move the creation of the ID back into our activity form to accommodate this. And let's just import the UUID inside the activity form. And let's make some adjustments to our handle submit method. Now this activity, it's being set inside our use state. So that means our activity ID is going to exist. And it's either going to be an empty string or it's going to be a GUID, the ID of an activity that we've selected here. So what we'll need to do is change the check here, and we'll need to check the activity ID.length and see if it's equal to 0. And if it is, then we're creating an activity. If not, then we're updating an activity, that kind of thing. But what we'll do is we'll need to do a few lines inside here now. So instead of using a ternary, we'll just change this to an if statement. So we'll say if, and then just add the closing parentheses after this. And then we'll create a new activity. So we'll say let new activity equal. And then what we'll do is we'll just spread the activity using the spread operator, add a comma, and then we'll say the ID is UUID. And below this, we can then say create activity, and we'll pass the new activity to the create activity method. And after this has completed, we'll use the len option. And what we want to do is push them to a new location. Now the way that we do that is if we go back to React Router documentation, we'll use another hook that we haven't used yet, and we're going to use the use history hook. And this gives us access to the history instance that we may use to navigate, and this gives us access to things like history.push as a method that we can use to redirect the user to a new location inside our code. And what we'll do is we'll scroll up and we'll just add and say const history equals use history, and just make use of this hook from React Router. Simple. And then we can go ahead and inside the len callback, we'll say history.push, and then we can just send them to the location we want them to go. Now in this case, we're going to add backticks, and then we're going to say /, and then activities, and then /, and then say $, and then we're going to use the new activity.id. And then we'll need to take care of the else condition, and this is where we're updating an activity. So in this case, we're just going to say update activity. We're going to pass the activity because we already have the ID available, of course. And len, when this is completed, what we'll do is we'll say history.push, and once again, we'll say backticks / activities $, and then we'll pass in the activity.id. And that should be all we need to do. But let's go back to our store, because now we're not using the ID inside the activity store for the create activity. We can adjust this code as well and just remove this line inside here. We're not going to use that anymore. We don't need it. and that means we can remove the import in here as well. So we should be able to go test, and let's go back to our browser and let's just refresh this page, and let's just go back to the activities. Let's pick on the test mobx create activity. Let's click on edit and let's just say updated and click submit. We should see the loading indicator, we get redirected, and we see the updated activity. Perfect. Let's try now creating an activity, and let's say test mobx with redirect, and we'll just say test, and we'll give it a category of drinks, and we'll pick a date, and we'll just say test and test for the venue, and click submit, and we get taken to our new activity with the details visible on our screen. Perfect. What we'll take a look at next is we want a home page that functions just as a home page. And next we'll take a look at how we can move our home page outside of our navbar.